Welcome to this week's Sister Scoop, and let's get right into the news for this week because I am liking all of the topics. There was a lot coming out this week after a few weeks of not as much news or not as diverse news. Maybe we could say that. The first is that there are rumors that The Rock could be playing Apocalypse in an upcoming X-Men film. I love this. I saw theories about this months ago. I think it was probably during X-Men 97. I saw people saying it. I saw the fan art. And oh my God. And yes, I did watch Oscar Isaac in the role. Nothing against him. We know we love him as Moon Knight, but The Rock would be so good.
Yeah, I think this is such a good casting move if this is like really true. I would be very into it. I also think too, like, don't get me wrong, Oscar Isaac looked great, but I think The Rock physique wise, like if you look at Apocalypse in the show, like the dude is jacked. He is gigantic. And who is more gigantic on this planet than The Rock? So I really think even just from a physique standpoint, he could be a really, really great option. And I would love to see him, in the MCU. I know people have a lot of very big feelings about The Rock one way or the other, especially as it relates to superheroes because of Black Adam and everything that happened there. But I just think he would be a great addition. I love him for this role. And if we're gonna like really swing for the fences on the X-Men, which I think it sounds like the MCU is really trying to do, I'm not sure that you could go much bigger than A, bringing in Apocalypse in a really, really big and new and different way, and B, bringing in The Rock to do it.
I agree. And I mean, and my lore when I say let's go to the lore, I'm going to talk about going to the show, and I mean the OG show because that's really where I get a lot of my information beyond what I explore of the comics of myself. But Apocalypse, just like Mr. Sinister, is a reoccurring character. Is he Mr. Sinister reoccurring? No.
Not quite.
That's just Mr. Sinister has his thing for Jean and Scott, and that is just what that is. But he is a reoccurring character, and it's somebody that they go up against. We know that they're going up against him once again in season 2. That's what the ending of season 1 has showed us. So, like, it would be cool to bring a big name because the other thing is we talk about big names all the time, especially lately, but we've discussed if you do these X-Men movies, the smartest way to do this is like the shows. They aren't just one storyline and it's over. Like, if you want to bring in a big name, here's to do it because they could sign for 3 movies. He might only be in one movie for 20 minutes, could be in the next movie for half of it, and then he could be the main villain of the last one. Like, that is almost to me the most ideal way to do an X-Men movie. So this is where to do it. This is where to bring in the big guns, quite literally.
Yeah. And to your point, I think what's interesting about Apocalypse as a character is he's often the guy pulling the strings in the background. So you might have other villains, doing something and it kind of at face value seems like, oh, okay, it's another villain. And then you're like, oh, wait, but he's teamed up with Apocalypse. Like there's the one series of episodes that happens with where all the telekinetics or not telekinetics, basically all the people with mind-based powers get kidnapped. That's all Apocalypse is doing. So, just thinking about that and all the opportunities we have to see him kind of lead a little bit of a villain cadre could be really fun.
I mean, that's a great point. And honestly, as you were saying, it made me think a lot of Thanos. We didn't see it too much beyond, I think, Loki, in my opinion, being kind of his puppet. But that was the same idea. We went into Avengers and Loki is considered the villain. But in the long run, we know who the real villain really was. So exactly. I think maybe that could be another direction. You have him maybe pulling the strings from the background, but maybe he's their phase's big bad, as he should be. But if we keep talking about this, we're not going to have any time for anything else. We're going to run out of time. So moving on to the next one, Pullman, who is supposed to be playing, supposedly, the Sentry in Thunderbolts, has some things to say about his character. And essentially it's that he's not sure if he's a villain or a good guy.
Which, I mean, if you're going to describe Sentry without describing Sentry, he pretty much hit the nail on the head. Yeah. I mean, between that and saying his character's name was Bob, I think he's dropping more than breadcrumbs. It's like entire slices of bread for us. Yeah. At this point, like, I will be so shook if in the theater it comes out that he is not, in fact,
he's Sentry. Like some random character off to the side.
I actually think my brain will explode in the theater. So yeah, I really think we're just continuing to get these, hints of who he is. I'm excited. I don't know a ton about the character. Obviously, I'll do more research before the movie comes out. But knowing he kind of has this dual personality, I think he's going to be someone who's really interesting to dive more into. I mean, heck, I could actually see us doing an entire podcast episode on him, just him one day, because he's also a character who I think has a lot of legs to continue beyond that franchise. So I love getting these tidbits about him because I love all the characters in Thunderbolts that are confirmed already, but I think this character is one that I'm excited to explore because there's so much to do with him.
Yeah, and I think going off of what we've been told or kind of implied to know about the movie, they've said that, Thunderbolts is based off of this team going to possibly go to, and I never get the Celestials' name wrong because I always say the wrong one, but the Celestials that's stuck in the earth, and they go to find adamantium. That's the first time we have it in 616 to our knowledge. And oh my gosh, months ago, probably, I heard people saying, or maybe debating is the better way to say that, is Sentry going to be the good guy or the bad guy? And I think right here, we're also getting more of that answer. I think he's going to be both. He makes the poster with the rest of the team, makes it look like he's like this little old guy. Meanwhile, everybody else, I mean, you've got 3 super soldiers hanging out there. Like, I think he looks so tiny compared to everybody else and their abilities and their masks and their suits and everything else. But I think he might start off as a team member and something happens on that island, because that's what's being considered now, and a switch happens and he does become a villain. I think he might be an antagonist by the end of that movie. So that's where I'm thinking this goes, considering he's also kind of saying, I could be a hero, but I could be a villain. I think he's both. I think that's what he's saying. He's like, my character's neither, but yet everything.
And that sets him up for a nice long multi-movie arc, and that's what I want to see. So I am down for that type of character development 100%.
Exactly. And then for our last topic, I'll let T take away this one a little bit more because it deals with Spider-Man 4, and I know that's something you're very excited about.
Yeah, so we may have a title, Spider-Man, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I just want to make sure I'm getting it 100% right. I believe it's King in Black is in fact the title that is rumored to be Spider-Man 4. So that tells us a couple of things. One, he might be wearing the black suit. A lot of people are also saying that based on that, he's going to face Null, who's kind of the head guy when it comes to the symbiotes, which I also believe I caught a Venom 3 trailer recently on my social feed. I believe he is also name dropped in that as well. So in which case we are, to your point in a recent Sister Scoop, going multiversal because he's likely going to be fighting that universe's Null. I'm not upset by that. Look, I do want him to be, more grounded. I was looking forward to that. However, I also like the idea of tying it into this existing property. Venom and Spider-Man go so hand in hand, and it does seem really dumb to have them on parallel paths that will never, ever cross. I mean, yes, they've crossed into each other's universes, whatever, but the two characters have never met. And that, to me, is a huge loss, especially because it kind of seems like this might be literally Venom's last dance. So I love the idea of kind of one last hurrah for Venom, bringing in Spider-Man, fighting Null, and that kind of being the culminating thing for him. And then, we'll see where Peter Parker goes from there. But I'm not upset by this update. I thought I might be, but I think I've come to terms with it and felt like, you know what? I see a direction and that feels good.
I mean, to add just to that, I think one thing to point out is Tom Hardy said it is. He's done. He had a whole thing saying him and the big guy are finished after this. This is, to your point, the last dance, the name of it. And so I actually see a path where, kind of what you were saying, we almost pass the torch, right? I'm kind of seeing that here. And so I'm almost not entirely mad either, because if he wears the suit, if the Venom symbiote transfers to him, because let's not forget, No Way Home ended one way. The trailers of The Last Dance or whatever Venom's fully, I should probably know it by this point because it comes out kind of soon, but whatever the title of Venom 3 fully is, we see that doesn't fully happen, that the symbiote gets picked up. Now, that's not to say that Peter Parker, Tom Holland, doesn't get it. So I think that could be your passing of the torch. Give him the Venom symbiote. I'd love if it was the same Venom. That's a nice through line. We love him.
Yeah.
We all love his personality. I'm not sure how it would work yet.
I also would be interested to see how that personality
changes
works with, and how it works with Tom Holland's sweet boy energy, which is very
But
different.
is that who he is anymore after No Way Home? So
we shall see.
Listen, no Spider-Man has ever been more down his dumps than he is at the end of No Way Home. So if a Venom symbiote's going to find him at any point, this is it. And I think then to your point with it, and it's Null, correct?
I believe so. Knull. That's how I'm saying it.
Exactly how it's spelled, but I'm like, I don't know. But if he's another through line, like, I think that makes sense. And again, it's still in universe as far as like it's in Spider-Man's world. So if it becomes multiversal in that aspect, I'm not angry as much. But then afterwards, can we go back to being ground level? Like, that's what I want.
Yeah. Agreed.
But this has been this week's Sister Scoop. Some awesome news, some theories to throw out there. We're really looking forward to talking about quite a few of these topics as more news comes out about them. Make sure you guys are joining us next week for another round of Sister Scoop. And of course, listening to the podcast as new episodes covering Agatha All Along come out weekly. See you guys.